All right, it being 5:31, I will call to order the Shelburne Select Board meeting of May 19th. And we are on via Zoom. Please mute your microphones until you're ready to speak or called upon. And other than that, we can get going. Uh, Acceptance of minutes is the first item. I don't see Andrew as yet. So, Tricia, I did get yours with your nicely yellow highlighted minor changes, and they're totally fine with me. So we can put the matter to a vote and put that behind us if you wish.
Okay, I move to accept the amended minutes from
And,
May 5th.
and I will second that. So we'll put the matter to a vote. Um,
Aye.
and I passes 2-0. We have an appointment at 6 o'clock. It's published, so we need to do that at 6. And you know me, we'll do it right on the button. Um, Even if I have to cut somebody off. No, no, I wouldn't do that. So let's move on to liaison reports. Do you have anything for us, Tricia?
I have a lot, so I'll just run right through it.
Fire.
From town hall, we got a little bit of feedback from one resident, a lot of feedback from one resident back and forth between Terry and Joe. And that was all settled. And then Terry also got a complaint about someone who was having difficulty hearing in the back of what was said in the back of the room. So I think we really needed to kind of enforce that come up to the microphone thing for next time. Over 160 of the transfer station mirror tags had been distributed as of Thursday. I think probably going forward after sooner rather than later as a board, the select board needs to address what to do with disgruntled non-residents who operate a business in town. Um, the transfer policy does clearly say household trash only, and there's a huge sign posted right there, but some people still want to do that. So I don't know how to actually make that happen. Just talk with the business owners that are doing that or something. Um, Terry, also being awesome, sent the letter of support to Senator Mark and Representative Blay about those amendments that they were the Mass Mutual, the, you know, the one I'm talking about, the MMA, that they asked for letters of support from towns regarding unrestricted local aid, the Chapter 90 supplemental aid, and rural school amendment. Mass Municipal Association, thank you. We approved that last meeting, so she did do that. And then regarding taxes, as of Thursday, Angel said payments were coming in on a consistent basis, but there were still 183 bills that hadn't been paid in full. So that still sounds pretty good. The senior center transition work will begin on the end of the fiscal year closeout and transitioning those employees to the new district. Speaking of the senior center, starting on July 1st, Sylvia Smith will be the liaison to the town select board. The West County Senior Services District budget was unanimously approved in Ashfield and Buckland, also approved in Shelburne, but not unanimously. And as of July 1st at 12:01 a.m., the district will be in effect with the consortium dissolved June 30th at 11:59 p.m. But this still has to be approved by each select board in the consortium, and the district legal counsel and the board of managers will initiate this process. The staff who are presently employed through the town will receive a termination letter effective June 30th, and the district will vote to hire the current staff and send letters of hire. They've secured their liability insurance and a company called CBiz as the accountant. They've already developed a chart of accounts and payment structure, and the current staff is going to be trained on how to utilize that software for accounting and payroll. They also got a treasurer who is going to work with the town and the FERCog accountant on how to transfer identified funds to the new accounts. The lease is being renegotiated this week, Julie and Teddy are transferring the retirement and insurance plans over. And then the FRTA transition, um, they're working on providing transport to West County 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. But it appears right now that the senior center is going to be a vendor and do medical rides with one vehicle and one driver. Speaking of driving, Julie, the senior center director, started an initiative called Wheels of Friendship, which provides rides to the senior center for seniors who have no transport. There's a volunteer who's overseeing that project, and if that idea catches on, they're going to try to get a grant for that, but they have to wait until after they have their new tax ID and vendor code as a district. And they're developing a brochure for caregivers in West County to help inform people ahead of the cuts that everybody's expecting to caregiver and food security programs. And on a final and really exciting note, the center received a $10,000 anonymous and unrestricted donation to support what they do, so they can use that to help support that program and others.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to the EMD, emergency management, the director set up a display table at town meeting, which was great. I had a lot of people there when I came. He's been spending a lot of time studying the current hazard mitigation plan, as well as FEMA's guidance and requirements for updating a hazard mitigation plan, because that's what we're going to try to do this year. And he's getting shelving for the Cowell Gym with existing EMPG funds, and he's continuing to work on an MOU with Trinity Church. Last is the MVP resilience coordination. We submitted a $170,000 DER culvert replacement grant on Monday of last week after Jeff and I went over it, and now we wait. I also attended the Resilient Deerfield River Watershed meeting on the 15th. That's run by Kimberly and Audrey at the FERCOG. They got a $646,000 MVP grant to develop a regional flood model for the Deerfield River watershed, and they were interested in problem areas or with particular streams near town borders. So I mentioned Hinsdale Brook, which flows along Brook Road and enters the Green River near Leiden Woods, which floods, and the Allen Brook, which flows roughly along Route 2 and is the subject of that aforementioned DER culvert grant. That also runs into the green. So I asked also what other towns are doing about beaver ponds that are a little bit out of control. Also, Jeff, I'm glad you're here because this is like all about highway stuff. The issue of knotweed came up, and I suggested to Kimberly and Audrey that maybe they should have someone from UMass Extension give the whole group in the watershed a presentation about how to manage it properly and effectively, since we had a crash course in it here in Shelburne. So fingers crossed. Lastly, they want to gather public comment from all the town's boards and committees, as well as residents, about conditions or concerns within the watershed to help prioritize the project's processes. So I'm going to contact the emergency management team, the highway, Jeff High, and the Concom for help with this. Can you guys think of anyone else who might have feedback about this, about areas of concern, flooding within the rivers, streams, brooks?
Open space, possibly.
Okay. Okay. So I will send something to all of them and instructions for how to provide their feedback. That's all I got. I had a lot.
Well, you pull it together very nicely. Well organized.
Thank you.
Andrew, thank you for joining us. You have any liaison reports, or if you need a bit more, I can do mine next, whatever you wish.
I do have a report on the highway department, but Jeff is here. If he wants to make the report himself, he's welcome to do that. Otherwise, I can summarize our conversation from this morning.
I can speak briefly on it. That's no problem.
Sure, go ahead.
Leading up till today, we've been focusing on going around, opening up any structures, water drainage, making sure because of the amount of water that's coming out of the sky, we figured that would be the best priority is to make sure the water's going where it's supposed to. We had a glitch on Old Greenfield Road. Um, there was a culvert that I wasn't aware of. Um, I called my predecessor, Mark, and he showed up and said there was a structure there. I said, I don't remember there was one there, but in the end, there was a culvert there that was still pumping water into a resident's property that um, was told that the water would be redirected. So we exposed the pipe. I contacted Warner Brothers. They came up and looked at it and said we could do this, this, and this. And I told them, I really don't feel comfortable doing it, and I don't feel like it should be on me to do it. I'd rather have you guys do it. So they're scheduled for this coming Thursday to do a flowable fill, which is like a mortar mix that's going to fill the culvert up with and seal it, and it's going to create a dam, and that water will then get dammed back into the structure and flow through the piping the way it should, as opposed to going on to the resident's property. Um, and had some complaints about some potholes, especially on Smead Hill, which I'm aware of. I know they're bad. I'm actually waiting for the town of Heath to get done doing their pothole patching, and I am going to borrow their asphalt hot box, which is it keeps the product warm, and you can go all day with it throughout town as opposed to going with an open truck body and trying to shovel it out as fast as you can before it gets too cold to use. Um, I think I touched all the bases that I spoke with Andrew this morning. I may be forgetting something, but
Thank you, Jeff. The only small addition I will make is that we have received, I think, three uh, applications for the laborer position again. So Jeff will be organizing interviews once we get that going.
Great.
I was not able to log on at 5:30 because I did not receive the link in a Word format. But that would be helpful the next time. I have to juggle between two different computers. Even finding the old link took me 5 minutes to go back and copy it and email it to my second computer. So there's more going on here than meets the eye. Um, and um,
Bookmark them though. It's the same one every week.
yeah.
Bookmark,
Um,
bookmark them on each browser on each.
okay, I will do that. The thing that I wanted to note, if you have already approved the minutes, is that I had two areas of concern in the minutes that did not feel accurate to me. Um, so I will just note them for the record if the minutes have already gone through as amended. But one area is that in the discussion about the CPA projects and the town of Buckland, the minutes appear to answer a question that I did not ask. I asked whether Buckland had been approached about sharing the capital cost of school projects, which we own jointly with Buckland. The answer that came in the minutes is that Buckland is not a CPA community, which was not my question. I know that Buckland is not a CPA community, but Buckland has other sources of funding with which they could share capital costs, which they in fact have done on the funding of the food pantry, which we each funded with different funding sources. So that was one area that was not accurately reflected in the minutes. The second was the discussion about tax title properties, in which I felt that my concern about Trisha's presentation was that the numbers that she presented were nominal values based on previous tax assessments to prior owners, and they were presented as if those were actual values that we would be losing, which we don't know what those either the value of those properties at auction or their future tax value if they are, for example, sold as woodlots and then converted to Chapter 61, they would have substantially different value than perhaps their prior assessed value. So those were areas where numbers were presented as fact, and I questioned that those questions were not placed in the minutes. In the same way that the presentation of whether lots were buildable was presented as fact, and in fact, those studies have not been done. So the questions about frontage are purely speculative at this moment. So I would like that reflected in the minutes,
How can that be done?
just by recording the concerns that I just raised. Not reflected in those minutes, but reflected in these minutes.
Perfect. Perfect. Anything else?
No,
Anything?
I will update you on Memorial Hall when we get to other business.
Very good. For my liaison reports, the Mohawk Trail Regional School District Personnel Negotiations Subcommittee executive sessions, and then the sessions with the Unit B professionals team have continued. Sometimes weekly, sometimes you might get 10 days in between, but we've been right at it since December, and we're hopeful to have resolution of that by the 27th. And if not, our first available date in June, and hopefully we can put that matter to bed. Police Advisory Services Committee, the April meeting was canceled. The next meeting is this Wednesday, so I have nothing on that. The Franklin Regional Transportation Authority Advisory Board, the annual meeting was set for May 15th. We gathered but couldn't come up with a quorum. So we discussed or went over some of the things that didn't require a vote and has been rescheduled to the 29th of May for the annual meeting for budget, etc., which will be a critical one for us to have quorum for, because after that date, people in that system won't be getting their paychecks without the budget being approved. So hopefully they are able to muster better attendance. And lastly, the Pioneer Valley Veterans Services Advisory Board, that next meeting is until October. However, inventory from our late veterans grave officer was brought to Town Hall. I understand there were flags and markers and a matter of boxes of things. And Terry reached out to Chris at the Veterans Services in Greenfield, and he is either coming or has come, Terry, to look at that in that material.
I reached out to Jeff Cochran. He told me to go ahead and scrap the old markers, which Jeff came and picked up today. And then the other Jeff will come by to look at the flags and pick them up, and probably they'll have a burning event for lots of flags, so he'll pick them up.
Okay. Apparently accumulated inventory from many, many years. What did he do that? 40 something years?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for staying on top of that and appreciate the update. That's all I have for liaison reports as well. Let's jump quickly to old business, town-owned tax title properties. Tricia, do you have any update you want to share on that?
Sure, just quickly, I spoke with John Wheeler and Faith Williams of Planning, because it seems like after, the town meeting vote, it was very clear that there needs to be kind of a entity that can work on this project, and planning seems like a good place for it to live. And there should be community involvement in any decisions. And so those decisions can be based on all the different options. I came up with many, but I know that there could be more. I've since thought of others. So, uh, so I think they're going to talk about it at their next meeting, which I think might have been scheduled for tomorrow, but might be changed because of the town election. I know we've had that moved before when we had a meeting on Tuesday. Yeah, I think that I guess the issue that Andrew raised earlier, I was very clear in my presentation that the numbers that I used about the tax rate on those properties was just based on what they are today, what they're assessed as today, and what the tax would be on them today, just to give an idea of what the cost is. And so I just wanted to clarify that, but that's all I have about that.
Terrific.
Rick?
Yes.
My only comment in that regard is that I welcome the planning board's engagement in researching these properties and coming up with more information about them. But as far as I know, we are not delegating the, handling of tax title properties to the planning board. That is the select board domain.
That would be my interpretation as well. And I think we're looking for input and suggestions.
Yep. So there's 5 of them, and they can spread out kind of what the information needs would be. And so I think that would be great. And they're really good about just like laying out all the facts and say, here you go. So that's a good clarification, though.
Well, there's still a need to gather some facts. So
Exactly. But I
Um,
think that they will be in a position to kind of look at the full scope of stuff and say, these are the things we need. These are the costs for those things, like surveys and whatever. And then figure out where to go from there, make recommendations to the select board, and then the select board can decide what to do next.
Very good. We still have a few minutes before our public hearing. Town hall generator installation. I think we shared with you that the generator was installed, wired, and is ready for the propane hookup. We've been looking into options for that. We have a couple of quotes from propane suppliers for new tanks and new service to feed the new generator, which will take care of the first floor only of town hall and allow for during power outages, work to continue, phones to continue to work, etc. The large 1,000-gallon tank behind the building, which is through the Memorial Hall Association. I spoke with them, and that particular vendor suggested, rather than putting any money into new tanks and a new line separately, because the town would pay for propane for the generator. Memorial Hall Association pays for propane for their systems on the second floor, that he said, geez, we can just at the building tee it off, put a meter on both sides so that each, and it would basically become 2 separate accounts for the propane, making that 1,000-gallon tank a supply tank, basically. And they would be individually metered so that whoever used what would be billed that appropriate amount. And they are going to take that matter up and get back to us on that idea. So for the time being, we're not ready to move on picking a source for the propane for that generator.
Rick,
Yes.
just one other piece in there is that the heating and cooling system that's up on the roof that serves the theater is now 25 years old. And so one of the projects identified in the capital campaign for the theater is to replace that heating and cooling system. Has not yet been determined what technology to use, but a variety of options will be looked at. If we go the green communities route, we could probably get some grant funding to put mini splits up there, but we have not fully studied that yet. But so I just wanted to put that in the hopper to know that that's not something that's going to happen this year or right soon, but maybe within the next couple of years. So it's certainly something that needs to happen in the not too distant future because that system's getting pretty old.
Yep. That's about the life expectancy, I would think.
Yeah.
Terrific. Thank you for that additional information. We have 3 minutes left before our public hearing. Highway laborer position schedule interviews. Are we at a point where we're ready to schedule interviews?
Yes. Yes, it's just a matter of finding a time in the afternoon
And who?
where you and Andrew can meet with Jeff and I, and
I'm good pretty much any afternoon.
I'm assuming after tomorrow, the new select board member would participate if he's able.
Mhm.
I think it can't get sworn in until Thursday. So that was sort of the plan.
Okay.
So you want to look at something next week, Andrew, that you could?
Yeah, next we've got a holiday on Monday. Um, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday afternoons are available for me. The later, the better.
Um, Terry doesn't work on Fridays, so I think I have a 4 o'clock that annual meeting of the regional transportation is at 4 o'clock on the 29th. So
How
like,
about the 27th?
oh, how about like 3 o'clock? Could you do 3 o'clock that day?
Yeah, I'll be in East Long Meadow
Okay.
till 2:45-ish, and then I gotta get home and get my 8-year-old to baseball practice and then go to Franklin County Tech for my nephew's graduation.
On Tuesday, I have a 3 o'clock with the negotiations committee. Okay. How about the following? That's too far out? You want to get it done before that, I would think.
Um,
Want to do it Friday? Um,
Friday's pretty open.
But Terry's not available on Friday.
Which Friday?
The
30th,
30th.
Depending upon the time, I could try to be available.
and we can do the interviews as well in your absence if needed, right? So we'll pick a time on the
Friday after 12 is good for me.
anything after 12 better for you, Terry, if you could possibly make it that day?
Yeah, do you want to start them at 1 o'clock?
Perfect. And if you can't make it, Andrew and myself, and Rodney will be able to do it, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. And it being 6 o'clock, we'll open the public hearing. This public hearing was advertised as properly in the recorder. The purpose of this public hearing is to provide the public an opportunity to become acquainted with the proposed safety improvements projects. It's all views and comments at this hearing will be reviewed and considered for the maximum extent possible. The funds for this project will be acquired from a MassWorks grant totaling roughly $1 million. And this proposal involves the safety improvements project for the replacement of the bridge on Bardwell's Ferry Road at Dragon Brook. Any updates on this that you'd like to share, Jeff?
I just want to start out by saying This particular public hearing is required by application. It's kind of jumping the gun. So first we need engineering done on this project, which we applied for a small bridge grant for engineering purposes. And this we just decided, why don't we try to piggyback and get the Mass Works grant lined up for afterwards? That way there's no waiting period. So we're looking at, if we get the small bridge grant, we're looking at a year for engineering. You're talking permitting, design, hydraulic testing, all that type of stuff. And when them funds are expired, and if we get this one, then we can kind of jump into this construction phase. Me personally, I don't think this is a repairable structure, but we won't know that until engineering's done. If it is not a repairable structure and it needs full replacement, it's going from a 16-foot, give or take, arch bridge, and it's going to be a real bridge because of the width of the channel that it's over. We can talk to the engineers and look into precast construction. That would speed the process up, or they just come in and set the stuff in. But I'm giving a timeline right now on what the overall construction timeline would be is kind of impossible. I would say at least 1 to 2 years, maybe more. I'm not quite sure how long it took to do the bridge down by Bassett Road, from start to finish, but I think it's going to be beneficial for all the residents to have a real structure that's going to be, because has to meet Massachusetts stream crossing standards. So it's going to be able to withstand what they call probably a 50 or 100-year storm. That's going to be a significant upgrade to what is there.
Rick?
Yes, Andrew.
Jeff, if it does turn out that the bridge needs a full replacement, my recollection of the prior conversation was that could be a 3 million plus project. Am I right about that?
You are.
So that could be a multi-year grant writing process of assembling those resources to.
Right. And then there's also a phase 2 to that small bridge project grant, which allows up to $500,000, where the first phase is up to $100,000. So
Right.
we could always apply for that second phase of the small bridge combined with what's the Mass Works.
Right.
But we won't know the overall cost, like I said, until engineering's done.
So we might
So
have to go in for more than one Mass Works grant too to
yes, sir.
make that
And
happen. Yeah.
and then and the reports are coming out for the bridge that's after that, the third one down. So we don't know where that stands yet.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of facts that we can share at this point. This is a
No.
requirement for the process.
Yep.
And we're doing things by the book. But it's an opportunity for any folks from the public who would like to make comments on that. You can file away and keep in mind as this process continues to whether it's a formed structure or an actual start from scratch. And is there anyone from the public who would like to comment on this?
I would. I abut the
Please
land.
Please
Yeah,
identify yourself and your address.
My name is Terry Caldwell. I live at 93 Bardwell's Ferry Road. My land abuts the bridge.
Okay.
And I own the 2 properties just to the south of the bridge with the field that's right there under the high tension lines. And I also run a business out of my house, and I see clients 3 to 4 days a week. So having this bridge out for years would essentially kill my business, and that is obviously a concern and could negatively impact my tenants. So I understand that. I've looked at it. I've been under the bridge. I've seen what has happened to it. I understand it needs repair. It's just a business concern of mine. And of course, an accessibility, because then I'm trapped between 2 closed bridges, essentially. And I also was inquiring about the potential availability of foot traffic because previously my other abutting neighbor let clients park one at a time and they walked over the bridge to get to me. So that is something else I want to have considered during the process because it would be pretty challenging to keep my business going here. And I just gave up office space in town. So that's my concern.
Okay.
Yeah, all that can be discussed with engineering. There could be a possible catwalk put in place. But like I said, no construction will be done with, until 2027, give or take. Because engineering will need to be done first.
Right.
Okay. Well, thank
And so then I'm also assuming if you're feeling that you can't repair that bridge at the width it is, that you'll be then needing to encroach onto some of my land to make it 2 lanes. And I have a flat spot there that I use to drive up to the back of my field that I want to make sure I'd still be able to drive up there. So I'd want to obviously discuss that with some engineer.
that's again
Right.
quite a ways down the road before we'd have a clue where
Right, but I guess
what.
I'm just putting it in right now because I'm the most directly impacted of
Yeah.
anybody in town. So,
Oh, fully appreciate that. Absolutely. You should stay tuned for sure, and be glad to keep you on top of where the process is. Certainly nothing would happen without more hearings, I'm sure, and public information.
right.
Anyone else care to speak? Tricia?
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring up too that if we get the MVP grant, the action grant, it is going to involve Dragon Brook. It's to develop a climate resilience plan for the Dragon Brook, which is that where that bridge goes over. So that's going to be a comprehensive from head to output into the Deerfield review of the whole Dragon Brook sub watershed. And so there's going to be engineers working on that. The benefit of the MVP process is that it's very heavy with community involvement. So you'll have plenty of opportunities if we get the grant to express your concerns and opinions about that as well.
Now, that's good to know. Yeah, there is an area that I've mentioned before that of Dragon Creek that is basically to the north of the brick house that's next door to me and then across from the barn apartments, that the creek goes in an N shape. And when there's heavy rains, it always jumps the banks and floods the road and then comes down to then run down onto the north side of this bridge. So that N needs to be re-engineered because the bank wants to run in a straight direction. It doesn't want to go south and north and then south. And that I've something that might need to be considered in that engineering review.
Tricia?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, I have videos of that, which I've shared with the engineering team that co-sponsored the grant, the MVP grant with us. So they're very well aware of how that water goes and when it goes over the banks. I have videos of it in action and then also after the fact. And so, yeah, we're really aware of that.
Great, good to know.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Anyone else wish to make a comment during this public hearing?
I could make a comment. I'm at 80 Bardwell's Ferry, just before you get to the bridge. And I've got the same type of concern Terry does, that she needs access to her fields. I need access to my barn. And again, the concern is I can't lose my lower access to the barn, or I can't it's a working horse farm. I won't be able to get the trailers in and out. So I would imagine down the road, what you're saying is there'll be plenty of time for me to comment to make sure that I'm not going to lose my access to my lower driveway to get the horse equipment around. Is that what you're saying?
Would expect that, Jeff?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It'll be the same process when we put the temp bridge in. I'm not going to allow them just to to restrict residents and what they can and can't do. They have to work around you guys, not the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, they did a great job. They tried to really be accommodating when they put the temp bridge up. But yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Jeff, did I just hear you say that there's going to be another temporary bridge before this construction? Or did I miss?
No,
I heard you wrong.
there's
then.
a structure down, I don't know what house number, past John Richardson's in the hole there.
Mhm.
There's a structure there
Yeah,
that
right.
I just had the bridge report come in.
Right.
It's not bad, but there is wear and tear on it. So it's
Okay.
another one on that stretch of road, which thank heavens it's probably the last one on that stretch of road. But it's over the, in the next coming years, it's just going to deteriorate even more. So it's another one that's going to be looked at
Right.
once this is done. And then, of course, we all know we have the big bridge that is really holding up everything, but I think that's a federally funded project, which is out of our hands. So
You're talking Bartles Ferry Bridge.
yeah.
Right. Right.
Okay.
And one last question. So to get all these grants, the MVP and not the other one, but the other one to get $3 million, then we have to bring it up to state standards, which means it has to be 2 lanes.
No, it needs to meet, it has to be, so it's a bank width times 1.5, I think it is. So
That's
it's
right.
a mathematic, it's an equation that they do, and that gives you the span of the bridge. Not the width, but the span, the length of the bridge that it needs to be to cover that channel, to be safe and appropriate.
Right. Okay. So it's not
Um,
necessarily the width, it's the span, the length, right?
Correct.
Andrew.
Just wanted to throw in another possible option, and Jeff, you may have already had some conversation about this, so I just wanted to know. But the last small bridge in town that we replaced was on Brook Road, which had a arch span built maybe 100 years ago out of fieldstone and stuff. Nice farmer work, but it had failed, and rather than repair or replace that arch, which would have been very, very expensive, the engineering solution that was developed for Brook Road was simply to lay a span over the arch and leave the failing arch where it was. And so we were able to do that without really, I don't think, significantly changing the width of the road, and for the cost of a small bridge grant, which was, I think, within the $500,000 range. I don't know. I haven't been down to look at this bridge closely, so I don't know if that's even an option, but that might be an in-between option, in between repair and replace. So just wanted to put that in the hopper.
Yeah. Like I said, we won't know until the engineers get in there and get their feet wet and do their measurements and do their wonders on CAD CAM and whatnot. So
Yeah.
Just to reinforce the questions that 2 of you have had, the publication of the public notice ends this way. All work on this project will be performed within existing right-of-ways, and all abutters will be notified via town website and U.S. Postal Service. So, yeah, you will be in the loop for sure. Okay. Great.
Terrific. Hey, I have one more comment before I'm supposed to be at pickleball at 6 o'clock, so I'm going to hop off in a minute. But I've already discussed this with Jeff, that the company that did some type of repair work for the utility lines at the bottom of Orchard Road now has a stockpile of very, very heavy metal plates and a giant pile of railroad ties piled up at the top of Orchard Road. And I watched them drive over that little temporary bridge with those flatbeds. It was incredulous. I've never seen such a heavy load on any truck ever, and they went right over that little bridge. So I know that Jeff was going to be in contact with them to make sure that they didn't bring that load, which was up there yesterday, over that bridge, because it's going to damage the little temporary bridge that we have.
Good.
So,
I'm glad you brought that to his attention. We need to stay focused on the public hearing as published.
okay. All
Different
right.
matter. Different
just,
map.
it's pertinent to that bridge so that it lasts until we are able to do the repairs.
I
So,
hear you for sure.
okay. All
As
right.
does Jen. Would anyone else who hasn't commented like to make a comment? Anyone else who has made a comment need another comment?
I
Sue,
just wanted to clarify. You said,
Sue, please.
I'm Sue Bishop at 120 Bardwell's Ferry Road.
Thank you.
I just wanted to clarify. You said that abutters would be notified via mail. I received something in the mail and would like to continue to have that happen.
I don't know how they define abutters, whether it's
Okay.
literal or not, but it's not in our court.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. That covered for everyone? I see two other.
I'm going to hop on. I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you all for your time. And just to clarify before I leave, any next step will be notified, like Sue was just saying, through a letter, a snail mail letter or an email, or how will we know what's coming next?
It says U.S. Postal Service and
U.S.
town.
Postal Service. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for your time. Appreciate it.
Great.
All right. Keep us posted. Bye, Sue. Bye, Sue. Bye, Andrew and the select board.
Tara, if you get a notice, let me know.
If you get a notice, let me know. Okay.
Will do. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We have two other folks on. Any interest in either of those referencing any comments for the public hearing? Hearing none, we can close the public hearing, and I thank you all for your input, as I'm sure does Jeff. And like he said, we got a long road ahead of us before we have a new bridge, but we'll try to keep everybody well informed and happy.
Thank
All
you
right.
for
Thank you.
coming.
Great. Do I need to do a formal closer other than what I just said, Terry, for the public hearing? That covers it. Good. Okay. So we've got our old business, item C. We're going to try for interviews to start at 1 p.m. on May 30th. And apparently we have 3 applicants. We'll see if we can get all 3 of them lined up. Cowell Gym Director position. You have a letter in your packet from Norm Beebe, Chair of the Recreation Committee. They interviewed 2 candidates to replace John Walsh as the Cowell Gym Facilities Director beginning July 1st. They felt both were well qualified and on a majority vote recommended that Clay Connor, 101 Mechanic Street, be appointed to that position. Any comments?
No, I say we go ahead and give them the authority to hire him.
I'll second that motion.
Are they the hiring authority or are we?
We are.
So
Select
we're
board.
giving them authority
Okay.
to hire. We're giving ourselves authority to hire.
Okay, so let me rephrase. So
We'll
I
accept their
move
recommendation. Yeah.
There you
that
go.
we accept the recommendation of Norm Beebe and the Shelburne Rec Committee to hire Clay Connor as the next Cowell Director.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, put the matter to a vote. Tricia,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
and I am I. The motion passes unanimously, and Terry will reach out with that offer, and hopefully we'll get another good one in there like John has been. Annual town meeting recap. I was it was one long night and and a take 2 the next night, but other than that, everything I think everything was passed. It was put before us except one of the warrant articles for the Mechanic Street property. Other than that, any comments, any further recaps people would like to offer?
I think the only thing was it might have been better to have had something for people to look at to understand the increases. So I think we said it more than once about why some of the budget items were increased. but it didn't seem to hold or take.
We do have a plan in place for that, if I'm not mistaken. Terry is going to add a column to the warrant itself, which would give a brief description. Is that correct, Terry?
I'm not sure I'll be able to fit a column, but there will be a handout that addresses
Oh,
anything over 5%.
great. So I think that may help an awful lot. Andrew.
One thing that we discussed and didn't really move on this year, but I would be interested in moving on next year by way of improvement, is to try our hand again at a pre-meeting and see if we could help to answer sort of informational questions prior to the start of the town meeting that might speed things up. Not a guarantee, because not everybody comes to the pre-meeting, but it's one thing we might try.
Has that been done before?
Yeah, not
Typically, when
often.
we have a candidates night, we do that, right?
A pre-meeting
Yeah,
for town meeting?
yeah.
I have not seen those two go together. I know we've done candidates nights in the past at the senior center,
Okay.
um, but I don't know that we combined it with a pre-town meeting. But we could certainly consider that, and that would be one way to maybe fill some of those unfilled slots on. But that would actually make more sense if you wanted to knock off that stone, to do that much earlier at a time when people could still get on the ballot. Otherwise, we're just vetting the people who have stepped forward, which, isn't bad. We could do that too. But um, it seems like one of the big challenges these days is just filling seats.
Yes. Terrific. Well, food for thought for next year. Any other recap comments? Town meeting recap. Hearing none, we'll move on to new business. Mary Lou Gallup has put in a letter of interest in serving in the at-large position or one of the at-large positions on the Community Preservation Committee. Those at-large positions are at the Select Board's discretion. Many of the positions on the Community Preservation Committee are controlled by planning board member, open space member, and so on. But we get to, it's our responsibility to appoint two. The chairman,
Will
I was looking,
Flanders.
yeah, I thought I had his letter. Here, no, I don't have it. Yes, I
It's
do.
in the
Page
packet.
7.
In the packet. The chair of the Community Preservation Committee, Will Flanders, has also recommended to us that we appoint Mary Lou to that open seat. Any comments or
Well,
motion?
I think that he provided I
I. Motion passes 3-0 for the Climate by Pomeroy proposal for the heat pump compressor replacement. Last item in new business is from John Wheeler, Chairman of the Planning Board. It is the replacement for Faye Whitney, the Administrative Assistant to the Planning Board, and they are recommending that the Select Board appoint Susan Durkee. We have previously appointed her to other groups, I think the
CPC, yes.
CPC. So we already have the background information that we received previously.
I'll move that we appoint Susan Durkee as the new admin for the planning board.
I'll second that. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
There is a matter of timing. We need to put a condition on that, if I'm not mistaken, Terry, where
Well, according to our personnel policies, we're required to either advertise the position for at least 7 days, or the board can do an internal posting for up to 2 weeks.
this
And I would recommend the internal posting. It's the easiest and Cheapest route.
I like the easiest, I like the cheapest, because we know we have a good candidate, but if you two are reading the document, I think it's page 4, role of the select board. Advertise the position opening. It's down item C. Town position may be posted internally for up to 2 weeks, giving current town employees the first option to apply. Based on my elementary grasp of the English language, that doesn't say either or to me. It sounds like we can give employees a chance before we advertise it to apply, but it doesn't say to me that we can fail to advertise. Am I failing to grasp something properly?
I would sadly agree with you, Rick. I think your reading is accurate, even though I would prefer it not be.
Sorry, I brought it up.
And I would
Yeah.
actually, if we're not under the gun, I would withdraw my motion and we can just go through the process and let it play out and then make the motion at the right time.
Terry, if
I
I
have a question about under internal postings. It said may be posted, which is sort of a question, for up to 2 weeks. So there isn't a minimum length of time that it has to be posted. And it doesn't say that it has to be posted internally,
correct.
I guess, right?
What I think it does say, though, is we have to advertise it, like it or not. That's,
I
But
would
at our,
advertise it on the town website,
ah,
unless you want to go beyond that and pay for an ad. I
ad-
can use,
no,
advertise.
I think that's fine, Terry. I just think I agree with Rick that I think we need to follow at least one of those, the posting process. And so maybe we should just wait till the next meeting to take action.
Well, yes, to take action on the appointment.
Right.
Tonight,
That's what I meant.
tonight we should either vote or recommend to Terry to post it internally and put it on the website. And then at our next meeting, we will have fulfilled the time frame and can make the appointment.
Terry,
That
do you
makes
feel
sense.
like there's advantage in doing 3 weeks of posting or just 1 week?
well, it would be 2 weeks before our next select board meeting. So we would cover both bases. We'd cover the 7 days posting on the website and 2 weeks internally.
That's 3 weeks altogether, isn't it?
Not if they're concurrent. If I do
Oh,
both the online and internal same
Yeah,
day.
they can be concurrent.
okay. All
And
right.
it doesn't have to be also, it just says posted internally for up to 2 weeks. So you could do it even just for a week and you'd be fine.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do we need a vote to do that or just tell you to do it, Terry?
Tell me to do it.
Done. I assume done.
Thank you.
Good.
All right. Any other business? Memorial Hall parade permit came in quite late this year, but we have it in.
Memorial Day, you mean, not Memorial Hall. It'd be funny to watch Memorial Hall parading.
Yeah, I must need a coffee. Yeah, the Memorial Day parade permit has been filed. You both got a copy of it. Um, I'm glad they got it to us in time for our meeting since this is going to happen in what,
Next week.
A
Yeah.
week.
7 days. So, any action?
I move to authorize them to hold a parade.
I
As
second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, matter to a vote. Andrew,
I
Tricia,
Aye.
I. Motion passes 3-0 to approve the permit.
Rick,
Yes.
I do have another other business item that does actually relate to Memorial Hall.
Yeah.
Um, and not the Memorial Day. It's just to update you all that the renovation project is moving ahead. Highlands Seating, which is the company we contracted with to both remove the seats that exist and replace them when in the fall when the renovation work is done. They are scheduled to come to the hall on May 28th to 30th to do the removal. And they have requested placement of a dumpster on Bridge Street so they can do that. So I'm coming to you all to see if we can reserve the parking spaces down by the bottom of our handicap ramp, which seems like the optimal exit point for them. Um, and just for that 3-day period, so that they can place a 30-yard dumpster there.
That's the 28th, 29th, and 30th, right?
Yeah. And it may go faster than that too. Partly because we've actually sold a quarter of the seats in the hall. Um, so there's less to remove now.
And they did indicate that when they were done filling it, they'd get it right out, not leave it for the whole 3 days as you just suggest. So I have no
Yeah.
problem with that. Do we need a vote on that as well?
Just
I
a
have
quick question. Do you have one too, Trish?
I do. I just
Okay.
want to make sure that the handicap ramp won't be blocked and that people who need to get there are going to be able to, or would normally need that extra space, aren't going to be blocked.
Yeah. No, I think we can go over that with Highland Seating when they show up. But the plan would be to put the dumpster in the parking spaces so it would not be blocking the sidewalk or the ramp. It would just
So
be taking up parking spaces during that time.
would we be taking up the handicap space? No?
Well, I mean, I don't know what the
Jeff
rules
says,
are about that, you know. What do you think?
Andrew, Jeff says we would not be.
We
Okay.
can shift it to the left of the handicap parking area, which then will allow for the accessibility to the ramp. Um, I just like if you're going to contact them, give me an overall length of the dumpster itself, and then I can measure it out and barricade it off until that dumpster is delivered.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, that was the other sort of logistical piece that I wasn't sure how, because I didn't want to remove parking spaces from Bridge Street unnecessarily. Can we like block those off the day before they come, or what's the deal there? How soon do you have to rope them off?
I mean, I can come down at night
Yeah,
and do it prior, at
yeah,
nighttime prior to the day that it's going to be delivered, and I can block it off as long as there's
yeah,
no one there. We could put up stands or whatever with flyers saying these parking spaces will be condemned, blah blah
yeah.
blah, at 10 p.m. this day.
Yeah, it might be good to give people just a notice like that to
Yeah,
just let them know what's coming so that we don't have to tow cars or things like that, you know. Uh,
right.
Then Andrew, why don't you make sure that you coordinate with them to get the length of the
yeah,
dumpster they're going to use. I think it was a 30-yard one, but get the length so that Jeff has that figure and coordinate with him, and I think everybody
great.
will be happy.
Sounds good.
Okay, do we?
Terry, is there any other thing we need to do logistically about this?
No. I'll just let the police chief know as well.
Okay,
Terrific.
perfect.
Anything else under any other business?
No, just to say thank you, Jeff, for your help on that. That's much appreciated.
Yeah, no problem.
Correspondence, we have a
Oh,
few.
well, I had something because it's my last meeting. So I don't know if you want to wait till the end or after we do the correspondence and then come back.
That would be best.
Okay, thank you.
Let's do Joe Giard, transfer station attendant, pending retirement June 28th. Wrote a very nice letter that you have as well. Been our attendant at the transfer station for 18 years. And he's going on to do other more fun things at his ripe old age of 82. So,
He has 7 grandkids. Did you know that?
something?
So he's going to be spending a lot of time with them. I talked to him on Saturday because I was like, oh no, we scared you off. but he doesn't look 82 either. So I'm sorry to see him go. We had lots of nice chats.
So we accept that resignation or retirement resignation with our sincere thanks for 18 years of service.
And sorrow.
Great.
Yes.
We need a vote, an official vote, Terry.
No.
Yeah,
Next,
I just wanted to add that I appreciate Joe's service. He did a great job there.
super.
And I guess and to just say that Jeff, you can say more if you'd like, but we will hopefully, Terry, be posting that position so that we can hopefully get somebody in place by the time that his
July
due
1st.
date. And if not, I guess we'll have to talk about sort of interim planning to staff it.
Yep. I was
Yeah.
just waiting on the letter of resignation, and I'll go ahead and advertise.
Yep. We
Great.
couldn't advertise it until we received that letter of resignation. Now that we have it, we can move forward, and we'll hopefully have somebody by the 1st of July.
Yeah.
Great. Unfortunately, we have another resignation, this one from Maureen Pike, 49 years, working with the residents of the town of Shelburne. Her position, sewer commissioner's clerk. Same thing, with incredible thanks and regret and best
I
wishes.
agree. Yeah, I'm sorry that she's leaving us.
So that is a position that the sewer commissioners would fill, correct? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
Matt Marchese is the chair of the sewer commission, so I will see what his directions are in that regard.
Very good. Lastly, Mark Rubinski, if I got that right, Mass Energy Technical Assistance Grant, 15,000. This is the official document that Jeff Bettner shared with us previously at our last meeting, or at town hall or somewhere, or at town meeting, that that 15,000 technical assistance grant is for the municipal building, the police and emergency management director building, for a study to figure out how best to improve its green condition. So that's the official document that we
That
would.
is such great news because that building needs a lot of help.
Jeff Bedner's doing a heck of a job for the town, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I think they were waiting to get, they had to get like a year's worth, I believe, of energy bills before they could apply for that. So as soon as they had it, they applied, and this is really great news that they got it.
That's correct. I did the walkthrough with them last summer when they were preparing this, and there's definitely things that we can see that need doing. So getting pros in there to dig deeper is definitely should make a big difference in the cost to heat and cool that building. And we're on to public comment. We don't have any public there, but I would like to start, Tricia, with my sincere, heartfelt thanks to you, as this will be your last meeting. Um, I just love how well prepared you come to meetings, that you take the time and do the work before them, and your attention to detail, and you've been a pleasure to work with for the past year, and we'll miss you. But you asked for some time on the floor, it's yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much for those kind words, Rick. I appreciate that. So I have something to say because I know sometimes these there's a lot of people who attend virtually where they watch the recording. So I have a message just for a lot of people. So this is my last meeting as a member of the Shelburne Select Board, and I do want to thank everyone for the privilege to serve this community in this capacity. I've been honored to represent you and bring forward your concerns. I've enjoyed getting to know so many people here in this meeting right now tonight. Jeff, your help with the last, the culvert grant was great, and Terry, every week, every day, just being the go-to person for everyone. I've been honored to do all of this, and I hope I've met people's expectations. You know, my main goal while I have been in office has been to improve our community's resilience. Um, and I did that by identifying risks and hazards we face and trying to find ways to mitigate them. I worked on grants to improve the physical infrastructure of our town and acted as the liaison to our senior center and the emergency management director and committee. I also worked to improve our resilience through creating an atmosphere of trust and understanding within our community. I acted not only from my leadership position with residents and employees, but also just as a neighbor and as someone who's willing to listen. So now that I'm scaling back on my official civic responsibilities, I want to remind everyone that we each have a civic responsibility to each other and to the community. We, the people, can actually build a culture of resilience in which each community member is valued and every voice is heard. And we can do this just through connecting with each other. Connections with others, known and unknown, are the cornerstone, if not the very foundation of resilience. And resilience is born from these connections by providing a framework of trust that allows people to share information willingly and to work collectively to solve problems. And everyone can do this. Here's how. Smile when you walk down the street. Make room at your table or bench for someone else. Check in with your neighbors. Wave to the other drivers on your street. I do that all the time. And, you know, just be kind. You've also heard me talk about social infrastructure like libraries, cafes, and open spaces, which we can frequent and support. Now, in small towns, we have the added burden of making sure we're extra friendly and kind in those places and spaces so we don't unintentionally scare someone of goodwill away. What I mean is if there's only one option for something like a coffee shop or a pub or a grocery store, and someone has a bad experience there, they're unlikely to return. And then that opportunity for connection is lost to them, perhaps forever. So there's also just the day-to-day walking down the street opportunities that we have, and we can use those to make connections. Maybe don't just absentmindedly say, "How's it going?" and keep walking when you pass by someone, but instead say, "How's it going with you today?" Ask a young person, "What's your favorite thing about school?" Mine was music class. Ask that veteran sitting on the bench outside the bank, "Have you been eating and sleeping well?" Ask the parent pushing the stroller down the street, "What are you doing for fun these days?" And I know from my days of early motherhood, that would have elicited quite a response. So though I'm leaving this role, I want to ask everyone to please try to take up this idea of resilience as acts of kindness, goodwill, and understanding. We can all do our part to help make that happen. One conversation, one smile, one small act at a time. Thank you. Thank you all so much. And I wish you all well. And I'm happy to get my Monday nights back.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I would like to just add to Rick's thank you and congratulations, and just say I enjoyed serving with you. And doesn't feel like you're entirely leaving because you're following your own advice and staying engaged as our MVP coordinator. So I imagine we'll have other opportunities to to learn about resilience with you in that role. So thank you for doing that, and looks like you got a lot of good work ahead of you on Dragon Brook and in other places.
Hope so. Hope we get those grants.
Yeah.
Fix them bridges, culverts.
You're leaving some big shoes to fill for sure. Well,
Thank you all.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
We'll look for a motion to adjourn then.
Oh, can I?
Sure.
So moved.
Second.
And seconded to adjourn. We'll take a roll call tonight. Tricia
Aye.
and
Aye.
Done and I. Thank you all very much. Have a good night.
Been a
Bye.
pleasure,
Good
Trish.
evening.
Patricia,
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
don't be a stranger.
Okay.